If I had a nickel for every time I made a video on the philosophy of what I thought was the central movie of a children's franchise from 20 years ago, only to find out that it is in fact a significantly less commercially successful sequel, and that the whole time I've also been misgendering the main character, like, I'd have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it happened twice. It's very specific. What does that say about my shortcomings? To be fair, The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars is the sequel that comes before the prequel, whereas the Care Bears 2, or the Care Bears movie 2, sorry, it's the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation, is the prequel that comes after the first Care Bears movie. It's the prequel sequel that comes after the first Care Bears movie in 1986. So, like, I'm keeping it fresh. This movie is so wild to me. I know that it has been like 2 entire videos since I promised you like a long capital V video about an author, and I said that you would get it in July. It's taking longer than I anticipated, okay? It's taking longer than I anticipated, but I don't feel like rushing it. And meanwhile, we have this movie just sitting here, just giving Nietzsche hives from beyond the grave, okay? So instead of this other long video, we're gonna talk about this crazy-ass 80s movie and the ethics of care, okay? We're gonna talk about ethics, and we're going to talk a lot about care today, okay? Not just self-care, like bubble baths and skincare, those do count. You should be doing those. But the hard stuff, the like emotional care, right? Physical care, the kind that you tend to put off. Like, hey, when was the last time you saw a doctor about that thing? You know the one, the one, yes, that one. I get it. It's annoying. Finding a doctor is a pain. You don't know who takes your insurance and you don't want to call anyone, and suddenly it has been 6 months and you are still meaning to get it checked out. Which is why I use today's sponsor, which is ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. I love ZocDoc. I have been using ZocDoc for years. I used it in 2020 when I first Googled how to make a doctor's appointment. I used it in 2024 when I got a new job and needed a new psychiatrist who took my new insurance. And I used it 3 months ago when that psychiatrist was like, I'm not practicing anymore. Good luck. And I had like 30 days to find a new one because that's how my medication works. Point is, ZocDoc makes it really easy to book in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers. With ZocDoc, you can filter for doctors by insurance, location, and specialties, see reviews by verified patients, and you can choose the best, most convenient care for you. Yes, you specifically. With ZocDoc, searching to find a doctor is so you filter which providers will do that thing that you are looking for and are located where you need them to be located, like walking distance from your new apartment in a new city or like just a short drive away, and that has the availability that you need. That's my favorite part, personally. That and the fact that it's free. Iconic. I do love that you can book online because I hate talking on the phone. I will not do it. I just won't. So it's nice to be able to just book it and not have to talk to anybody. Most appointments happen within 24 to 72 hours of your booking, or you can do longer like I did earlier this year. I needed to find like a gut doctor because hot girls have stomach issues, and I booked it, and then I realized I was out of town that day, so then I had to cancel it and I could rebook it very easily. You can even book same days appointments, which is super sick. Well, not sick, actually. Well, no, yes, sick, but hopefully less sick soon with ZocDoc. Today. So go to ZocDoc.com/BizBarkley, also linked in the description, to find and easily book a top-rated doctor today. Also, thank you to ZocDoc for making it so easy to find help for free. 10 out of 10 behavior. Anyway, let's talk about the bears. Part 1. Lesbian space pirates invent ethics. This is a Moscow Mule, by the way. And I know you guys hate when I put ice in my drinks. Sorry. I'm feeling combative. I'm feeling like I want to start a fight. Anyway, so for the uninitiated, the Care Bears are these cute-ass little multicolored bears that were created in 1981 by Elena Kucharik to be put on greeting cards. They were just like a random little character. And then in 1983, someone made them into teddy bears. And then in 1985, they got their own TV show because in the 80s, how do I put it? The 80s television landscape for children was like almost exclusively filled with 20 22-minute advertisements for toys. Take it up with Reagan, wherever he may be burning beneath our feet, but that's what it was, okay? That's what the TV was. So a TV show followed by 3 feature films was created. The Care Bears movie, 1985, the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation, 1986, and the Care Bears Adventures in Wonderland, 1987, which is the worst one because they always, the Alice in Wonderland themed version of whatever thing you're doing, always the worst one. Stop doing Alice in Wonderland spin-offs. Let it die, okay? Anyway, then in 1988, the Care Bears Nutcracker Suite aired on the Disney Channel as a finale to the TV series. I did not watch that, but I assume it's good because the Nutcracker spin-off of everything is always the best one. So that's going to start some debates. I think there's been like a bunch of revivals. It's very like My Little Pony kind of situation. There's like, I did try to watch like a couple of like mini-sodes that I found on YouTube because I was originally going to do a whole Care Bears thing. It was going to be a whole ordeal. And then I was like, oh God, this is not good for my mental health. We're just going to stick to the one. Well, 2, but the two. But we're focusing on this one. This is the Care Bears 2. I'm choosing the Care Bears 2 because the Care Bears 2 is the origin story, right? It is the prequel. So in the Care Bears movie, we're introduced to like the mechanics of the Care Bears universe, which is that you have all of these bears and they have special little names and colors and personality traits, very easily marketable, well-packaged personalities. So you've got like Secret Bear, Friendship Bear, Grumpy Bear, Braveheart Lion, Honesty Bear, I think. I don't know. Things like that. You've got all of those creatures. All of these Care Bears, they live in Care-a-Lot. We care a lot, which is in the kingdom of caring. And they just sort of vibe out and stuff until their big Care-o-meter goes off. It's a big bell thing and says that someone down on what I presume is Earth needs their help. Their help with what, you ask? Great question. They need their help with being a good person, being a friend, being kind. One might even say that they need help caring. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are we seeing where this is going? So there's also the Care Bear cousins, which like, they're just the ones that are not bears. I think that they realized too late that some of their bears didn't look like bears. And then they were like, we're not going to call them the care animals or the care creatures because that sounds terrifying. So Care Bear cousins, which makes the family dynamics here wild, but we're gonna get there. Anyway, this is all pre-established, right, in the Care Bears movie. So the Care Bears 2, A New Generation is, despite its extremely misleading title, is the prequel / origin story to the Care Bears movie. So this explains how we got here. Or rather, it explains how these 2 lesbian space pirates invented ethics. Okay? That's what it really explains. Lesbian space pirates invent ethics. The origins are fucking nuts, okay? We start on a boat, okay? That's all good stories do. Not sure where the boat, what waters the boat is on, okay? We're not super clear on that at the moment, but we start off with these 2 baddies, right? And we will come to know them eventually as True Heart Bear and Noble Heart Horse. Don't ask me what their names are now. I don't know what they were calling each other before they got those names. I like the idea that they just called each other like Bear and Horse, as if there were no other bears and horses, because that feels really funny to me. Especially if you think about like they're the only talking bear and horse. So like maybe they did know there were other bears and horses, but they were like, psst, that seems very funny to me. Especially when you factor in the fact that they have so many fucking children. They have so many children, which would be that their plan was just to call them what, like Bear 1, Bear 2, Bear 3, Lion. I don't know what their plan was, but it's a good thing that we never have to find out because Bear and Horse are trapped on this boat with, 75,000 children, babies, infants, l'enfants, little itty bitties with diapers and everything. They're sailing through this like crazy rainstorm, which is bad enough on its own, ladies, okay? But then one of them is like, oh no, he found us. He? He who? You are asking the right questions. So they're on the run. Lore drop, they're on the run. On a boat in a storm with 75,000 babies. I can only presume they're on the run either because they stole the boat or they stole the babies. Either way, pirates. Pirate parents on the run from, lo and behold, a friend of the channel, giant fucking water dragon. This is certainly a throwback. The random connections from this video to the Mako Mermaids video are wild, because also, technically speaking, the Mako Mermaids video was also a video about a sequel. I knew it was a sequel. I didn't think that Mako Mermaids was the main deal. I knew H2O was that girl. But Mako Mermaids was like the less good sequel prequel. I think I just love a bad sequel. I think I just find them really funny to take very seriously. Anyway, pirate parents are on the run. They are now fighting giant fucking evil water dragon, and they explain to us vis-a-vis extremely natural exposition dialogue that this is Darkheart, capital D, capital H, Darkheart. I was gonna put the name on the board, but Darkheart is already on the board. I will let you figure out which one it is. But anyway, Darkheart, capital D, capital H, Darkheart has been after them for ever, I guess, I'm assuming. Now, we don't know why, and don't hold your breath. We're not gonna find out why. But I can only presume that it is because they are hiding something. But that's a problem for later. Either way, in very Pirates of the Caribbean epic battle scene, they do the thing where you put the stick in the creature's mouth and then it can't close its mouth and then it like melts. And suddenly the heavens open up and God himself comes down to thank them. It's not God, but it's not God, okay? It's the great wishing star comes down to thank them. The Christian overtones in this movie are not to be ignored. Okay. Anyway, so the heavens open up and God, in the form of this magical sun star, sort of raises them from the seas and is like, this is it. This is what we have been waiting for, which is very God, if you ask me. Very, you have to sacrifice your only son, Abraham. Here's a giant rainstorm and man-eating whale, Jonah. Sorry, I'm killing your whole family, Job. To just pop in and be like, that was a test. Ah. It's not entirely clear at this point in the film whether the giant wishing star sent the dragon or if he just like let it roll. But either way, the point stands, they passed. 10 out of 10. Well done. You did it. Shout out to you. You have proven yourselves to be the truest and noblest of bear horse lesbians that we have ever met. You shall henceforth be known as True Heart Bear and Noble Heart Horse. And then he brands them to prove it. He brands them as under his rule and control and plucks them out of their home and gives them a new home in the kingdom of caring. Here's a new family for you, Job. It's all very Old Testament God, okay? You do one thing right, and even if that thing includes presumably killing an evil water dragon, and you get gifted a kingdom in the sky and a new job. God's nothing if not practical in how he runs his kingdom. So their new job, right, is to watch over Earth and make sure that humanity doesn't fuck itself up too much, which you might be thinking sounds a lot like it's God's job, right? Didn't that used to be God's job? And yeah, it did. But I'm assuming that in this universe, he tapped out somewhere between World War II and the Nixon tapes, was like, I can't do it anymore. Offloaded to these poor innocent lesbians and their 19 kids and counting. I keep calling them lesbians. I should specify. I should clarify that on my like 5th watch of the movie, I guess I clocked it. It started clocking to me that there is one part of the movie where the narrator genders one of these lesbians. And I'm gonna let you guess which one it is for a minute. Because I was floored. Because in what world is this not a lesbian? In what world is this not who Ring of Keys is about? Like, what? If I had to put money on which one of them was traditionally being gendered as a girl before I knew, I would Noble Heart Horse. But no, apparently that's a he, not to me. Gender's not real and I don't believe in it anyway, so I'm not, that's not my Noble Heart Horse, But for the record, I did want to say that, like, I'm going to be calling them lesbians as a joke, but they're not. It complicates things, though, technically. I think it makes it even more complicated that they're not. Because they have all of these kids, right? They've got 75,000 kids. And half of them come to be known as the Care Bear cousins. So half of them are cousins. So are they are they the parents? And why are they naming half their kids cousins? Was there a tragic accident to their sibling that we don't know about? Well, that's the movie I want. Like, what? How did we get here then? I need answers. And I'm not going to get them. And I learned my lesson about needing answers as far as gender and children's media is concerned. And so I'm just deciding. Lesbian space pirates. You're welcome. Oh my God, that was such a tangent. Okay, so yeah, so lesbian space pirates and their 19 kids and counting. They get a new job, are now keepers of Earth's morality, and they take it in stride, to be fair. They are like, we are God's soldiers, we are gonna nail this. These two, fullest quiver ever. It doesn't hurt their cause, but it does seem to hurt them because these ladies are stressed. The lesbian space pirates have taken up the mantle in the kingdom of caring and are learning the hard way that you simply cannot have it all. You cannot be a girl boss and keep your house in order. They lied to the millennials, they lied to the lesbian space pirates. You can't have everything. Childcare is labor. That's why childcare is also a job. They're clearly struggling when the first alarm bells go off and something is afoot down on Earth. And so they sort of briefly argue about who is going to go help the Earthlings and who is going to stay and take care of the children, which, when I assumed that they were both women and this was a lesbian situation, did not catch my attention in any kind of a way. But knowing that technically speaking, the narrator calls Noble Hearthorse a he, and that they must be married, I think this is actually a fairly progressive conversation that they have, and she goes to work while he stays with the kids. It's extremely ungodly, but, you know, that's the price you pay when you need someone to be the physical manifestation of care. Because what are you going to do? Send the man to teach people how to care? Absolutely not. This is the 80s. And we can't really do a whole video on an 80s movie about care without talking about care ethics. Now, can we? Care ethics. Care. Let's start with care. Let's start with care. Before we get into what care ethics is, let's start with care. What is care? What is care? The Cambridge Dictionary says that care is the process of protecting someone or something and providing what that person or thing needs. But to the surprise of absolutely no one, philosophers tend to have differing opinions on the subject. According to 20th century feminist philosopher Sarah Ruddick, there are 3 distinct overlapping meanings of care, right? One being as a kind of labor, caring for someone like a sick relative, a friend, or 75,000 bear and other animal creature children, a particular kind of relationship where you sort of emotionally care for your friends and your family and your partners, and an ethic that is defined in opposition to justice, which is stuff that we have talked about on this channel a lot before. In my first ever video essay, this was kind of like, sort of felt a little bit like very reminiscent of that, the opposition between a care-based ethical system and a justice-based ethical system. So ethics, generally speaking, specifically like normative ethics, which it sounds like a big word, but normative just means like you can apply it to everything generally. That's enough for now. Normative ethics and like the ethics that we kind of discuss here, the way that we work with it is sort of just like really out here trying to answer the question of like, what do I do? There is also meta-ethics, which is all about like the concept of morality itself. And then there's like applied ethics, which is like very specific and situational. But normative ethics is about studying and examining systems and frameworks for making decisions about how we function. And you have 3 main types of normative ethics, okay? Virtue ethics, which are ethical systems that emphasize the importance of virtues or character traits, specific things related to moral character. So, you know, selflessness or pride. There's deontological ethics or deontology, which emphasizes rules and duties. Think deontology duty. And consequentialist ethics or consequentialism, which emphasizes consequences of an action, right? So whether or not you should do something, you base that off of the consequence. Utilitarianism is the most famous form of consequentialism that says you should, or rather, it says ought. Philosophers love to use the word ought. There's definitely reasons for it. They don't matter here, but what you ought to do, the thing that will maximize the most good and minimize the most bad always, that's utilitarianism. So like the let's kill baby Hitler thing, right? This like hypothetical scenario of like, if you go back in time travel, rules and consequences aside. The question is, if you have the opportunity to kill baby Hitler, do you do it? And consequentialists would say yes. Yeah, hell yeah, do it. You're gonna save so many lives. It's a bummer. Sorry for the baby, but like so many lives will be saved. It's worth it. Do it. A deontological perspective might say like, hey, like we want to, but also like killing is wrong, right? Like we don't like Hitler because Hitler was the cause of a lot of people's death. So like that's wrong, so we can't do it. And like a virtue ethics perspective would like to just sit there and think about what kind of a person would kill baby Hitler. No shade to virtue ethics, but anyway, care ethics occupies this sort of in-between space. It doesn't fit super neatly into any box, and honestly it works best in opposition to the concept of a justice-based ethical system, which is sort of deontological, and ethical decisions and judgments are made based on fairness and logical thinking and justice, right? An eye for an eye. We're going to talk about this later, but there's a lot of criticisms and perspectives of care ethics that it's kind of more of a virtue ethic. There's a lot of crossovers, you know what I mean? Ethics is messy. Ethics is a lot. We don't need a PhD here today. But yeah, that's the best way that care ethics kind of works, is in opposition to this justice-based ethic. It's also usually associated with feminism and considered a feminist or feminine ethic, mostly because of its origins, which are from the late 70s? I don't know her life story, but Carol Gilligan was working with her mentor Lawrence Kohlberg, studying morality and moral development. And Lawrence Kohlberg was suggesting that moral development moves toward a more universalized, principled thinking, and found that in his studies, girls were scoring significantly lower than boys. And Carol Gilligan was like, that seems sus. Carol was like, I'm not so sure about that, my guy. Can I take a look? And so she took a look, and she reports hearing a different voice from the girls than the justice-based kind of voice that Kohlberg was presuming was the sort of universal. So whereas Kohlberg was sort of saying like, okay, like this justice-based voice, this system is very present in all of these boys, and these girls are not really getting there. So they're not meeting like the standard. She was like, maybe we're just looking at things differently because I'm hearing ethics that these boys would not be measuring up to, kind of thing. And the example from this study is the Heinz dilemma, where two children are asked whether a man named Heinz should have stolen an overpriced drug to save the life of his dying wife. The little boy sees the dilemma as like a math problem, right? Where life is more important than the right to property. Solid, my boy. So the life of his wife is just more valuable than the right of the store owner to like have his expensive drug in his possession. Medicine can be easily replaced and remade, but there's only one of Heinz's wife. She can't be replaced. Ergo, there's nothing wrong with him stealing that. Like, he should be doing that. The girl's response, however, was that he shouldn't steal the drug because he's risking going to prison, which would leave his wife in an even worse situation, unable to care for herself or to afford to live and be all alone, sort of emotionally and physically and all of those things. And so initially, if you're just looking at it like, we want them to say that it's right to steal this, then yeah, she probably didn't do as well in that regard. But if you're looking at it like, what are the differences here? Like the little girl was sort of looking at future outcomes of relationships, believing that perhaps the drug company would be willing to help Heinz if he asked, right? The girl was seeing the situation as sort of populated with networks of relationships rather than just two people, right? You have his relationship with his wife, his relationship with the drug manufacturer, with the store owner. Like, there are all of these different people who are in relation to each other, and there is probably another solution. How she was thinking of it. So Gilligan posited that men and women often speak different languages and they think they are the same. She sought to correct the tendency to take the male perspective as the prototype for humanity in moral reasoning. And she wrote about this in her now famous book, In a Different Voice, and called it sort of an ethics of care as compared to this ethics of justice and fairness. The Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy calls care ethics. The moral theory known as the ethics of care implies that there is moral significance to the fundamental elements of relationships and dependencies in human life. Normatively, care ethics seeks to maintain relationships by contextualizing and promoting the well-being of caregivers and care receivers in a network of social relations. Most often defined as a practice or virtue rather than a theory as such, care involves maintaining the world of and meeting the needs of ourself and others. Carol Gilligan very strongly advises against like associating this difference of care and justice ethics with gender in any kind of an essential way. She did not support readings of her work as like women naturally have a care ethic and men naturally have a justice ethic, but rather as an ethical framework for looking at decision making. It should be sort of viewed and examined as ethical themes and approaches and frameworks first, right? And, associated with gender and sociology second. So anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Is what the Care Bears are doing care ethics? What a great question. Part 2, Nietzsche, bless you. Full of callbacks. So back to the plot. True Heart Bear goes up to see, no, down. True Heart Bear goes down to see what all the fuss is about on Earth. What is all the ethical trouble about? And what do you know? It's a bunch of losers at camp. Losers. I say losers because as a loser myself, they're losers. We got 3 kids. Is that what you thought these pictures were for? We've got 3 kids here. We've got Christy, which is a very 80s name, if I've ever heard one, and her 2 friends, the twins, Dawn and John. Dawn and John is a joke that only makes sense if you're from Philly, which, lucky for you, I am. However, I don't have the accent, and both the filmmaker, director, writer peoples of this film are all from Canada. So I don't know if John and Don, I don't know if there's a Canadian accent thing that I'm missing. There's one kid that says it one time that kind of makes it sound intentional, but otherwise, John and Dawn, so annoying. Oh my God, drove me fucking crazy. It's like that John Mulaney bit where he's like, it's almost right. It's like, hi, how are you? Not much. It kind of makes sense. It should be John and Don or John and Dawn. It should rhyme, but it doesn't rhyme. And they're it's not why? Because I'm a songwriter, right? And lyrics, and I love a good rhyme. I don't know about poetry and spoken word, but in lyricism, you don't always want a perfect rhyme. If you don't know, a perfect rhyme is a rhyme where both the vowel and the consonant rhyme. They sound the same, right? This is all, doesn't matter how it's spelled, it's all about how it sounds. So sell and well, brace and face. They sound perfect together, hence the title. And sometimes a perfect rhyme is not always what you want. Sometimes a perfect rhyme feels a little cheesy. I personally love a perfect rhyme, but I like to use a perfect rhyme to make a point and for people to think I'm clever. So I like to use a perfect rhyme for it to feel smart, and I want the people who are listening to feel like you get a little chuffed about it, right? So I have I love to do a short, fast verse, right? In my song Bad Taste, we have heads up, I'm fucked like the old days, high strung split tongue in a glass maze. And so within that line, we have heads up, I'm fucked, which is, first of all, an internal rhyme because it's within the same line. But the words up and fucked are a near rhyme or an imperfect rhyme or a slant rhyme, whatever you want to call it. Because they're kind of similar. They're the vowel sound is the same, but the consonant sound is not. So up and fucked. Also, fucked is technically... And it's one syllable. The way that I'm saying it is more like F-U-C-K-T. But then the second part of that line is high strung, split tongue, and strung and tongue are perfect rhymes and also internal rhymes. So the rhymes are getting progressively more precise. The song kind of starts out very slow with this I'm not ready to have this conversation melodic bit. And then it jumps into this fast-paced, very well rhyming section. So the impression that it hopefully gives without you actually noticing is that the narrator speaker of this song is perhaps a bit more prepared for this conversation than they would have initially had you believe. It's also attention grabbing. It calls attention to itself, having a lot of words that sort of taste the same, so it feels really punchy and satisfying. If I did my job correctly, it should make you feel like I'm snapping my fingers at you to get you to pay attention to what I'm saying. Versus go hang yourself inside the cave with the others, welcome to my collection, it's Herodotus's eighth wonder, are longer and slower, right? Longer and slower. And others and wonder don't rhyme because I am not trying to distract you. I'm not trying to make you pay attention to the words. I'm sort of telling a story, and I want you to be paying equal attention to the next lines. I don't want you waiting for that rhyme or feeling like we're playing a game, right? I want you to just be listening. And if you start noticing a bunch of perfect rhymes, it can pull you to me as a narrator rather than the story that's being told. And so I want you to feel Like you're hearing a story and it rhymes just enough that it doesn't distract you by it not rhyming, but it doesn't rhyme so well that it distracts you by it rhyming. The point is that John and Dawn do not rhyme. John and Dawn do not rhyme unless you are pronouncing them John and Dawn, which nobody in this film is, and I find it extremely distracting, and no, I will not explain to you what a John is. If you don't know, then you don't need to know. What was I talking about? Oh, right. Okay, so these kids are at camp. Okay, so the kids are at summer camp and they are going through it. They should have gone to theater camp because there is this other kid who I don't think we ever get his name. I think he's just like Camp Champ, and he's very strong and skilled and good at being at camp, and they are not that. So what we're being told here at the start of the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation, is that physical strength and prowess and winning are valued, right? There is a lot of value on achieving your goals and being successful. The characters around our protagonists all love winning. Our protagonists wish they were winning, and they don't seem to care about whether or not they are making the non-winning kids feel like shit. They're just like, well, you should win. If you don't want to be a loser, just don't lose. Like, have you tried being better? Now, who does that sound like, my friends? Isn't there a certain German philosopher whose inappropriately ardent supporters I haven't angered in a long time? Frederick, we meet again. Welcome back, my friend. It has not been long enough. Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. Romantic era, Enlightenment era, I fucking forget. Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher. Nietzsche, or Nietzsche, however you prefer to pronounce it. Nobody gives a shit. He's not here to be mad at you. Nietzsche thought a lot about the Roman Empire, okay? He was really into ancient Greek and Roman societal structures because they had slavery. And Nietzsche thinks about slavery in the same way that modern, like, spicy TikTok romance authors think about slavery. Like, in, like, a slave Leia costume kind of way, okay? And he's also, like, kind of mad at the slaves. Extremely mad at the ambiguously ancient times slaves for this moral revolt that they have caused. And this is the opening of a genealogy of morals, okay? We're oversimplifying for sure. Sorry, Nietzsche heads, but also we're talking about the Care Bears movie. There's only so much I can do, okay? The genealogy of morals opens us with this big, long story about the, like, knightly, aristocratic noblemen of the ancient times. And they used to define for themselves what was good, and that they were good, and that people were weak and lacked master qualities, and they were bad for that. And that was just the way the world worked until all the weak folks grew this, like, resentment, and started calling themselves good and their masters evil, and that is how the traits of the masters, like strength and self-confidence and abuse, I mean taking what you want by force, became bad traits, and things like weakness and suffering became good traits, right? Martyrdom became idealized, and generosity and selflessness, and so, like, morally and mentally speaking, the weak reframed being overpowered as allowing themselves to be overpowered as a kindness, and that's where it all went wrong, apparently. Again, so oversimplifying, but this is also one of Nietzsche's more, like, ridiculous pieces of writing. And I don't hate Nietzsche, contrary to popular belief. I think he's a little ridiculous, and by a little I mean a lot. And I think that there's merit to a lot of his work. And I think that there's a lot of merit to his work regarding this, like, slave morality thing that we are going to talk about later. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but also I do think that it's crazy to read a genealogy of morals, because he keeps saying things like, in order to see masters as evil, their slaves must dye them in another color, interpret them in another fashion, see them in another way through the venomous eyes of resentment. Like, he's speaking like it's like they had to work so hard to hate their masters. Like, did they? I'm getting ahead of myself. That's Nietzsche's slave morality, which we're gonna get to later. Let me put a pin in it, actually. Don't read into the placement. point is, Nietzsche loves the Roman Empire, and there's like a direct connection to the idea of physical strength and superiority and like moral goodness. In the Genealogy of Morals, Nietzsche writes, in German, he did not write this in English, this is a translation, but he writes that the knightly aristocratic value judgments presuppose a powerful physicality, a flourishing, abundant, even overflowing health, together with that which serves to preserve it. War, adventure, hunting, dancing, competitive sports, and in general, all that involves vigorous, free, joyful activity. And he also writes this like aristocratic value equation, which is basically good equals noble equals powerful equals beautiful equals happy equals God beloved. And I'm telling you all of this because this seems to be the mentality of our villains in the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation. He is like, you didn't win the race. You have to do trash duty. Like, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I'm better than you. He says at some point, he's like, if you can't win, like, you should go home after you do trash duty. He's just like, this is how it should be. And it hurts our little gang's feelings. It hurts their feelings because they feel like they just can't do anything right because they can't. They are struggling with a capital S. And so they decide logically that they should run away. I say they. Christy decides logically that she should run away, and then they chase after her and go with her. But they fuck it up because of course they do. So they get separated and lost in the forest. Christy's one way, John and Don, the twins are the other way. And this is the trouble in paradise that triggers the carometer up in Care-a-Lot, that True Heart Bear and Noble Heart Horse have the little parenting argument about who's going to go down and save the world. And then now we're all caught up to the present, all right? Now the plot can start. There's so much exposition. We're like 20 minutes into the movie. Noble Heart Horse is going to stay with the kids. True Heart Bear is going to go down to the rescue, but the kids went in 2 separate directions. So there's 2 sets of lost children and only 1 True Heart Bear on the hunt. And so True Heart Bear stumbles upon John and Dawn first, leaving Christy open and vulnerable to temptation. I mean, to the devil. I mean, to Dark Heart. Sorry. Part 3, for Faust's sake. Fun fact, the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation is a Faust tale. To the point where it's on the Wikipedia page. I'm not even making that up. It's not even conjecture. Where should we put this one? Faust tale. I gave it a little heart because I love a Faust tale. We love Faust tales. I love a Faustian bargain. If you don't know what I mean when I keep saying Faust tale, a Faust tale is a German folktale turned Elizabethan English tragedy turned German closet drama, which just means a play that is meant to be read and not performed, turned colloquial deal with the devil, turned topic for my best video essay to date. That might not be true. No, I think it might be true. I think it's probably the best one. Nobody watched it, but maybe it's not the best, but it is my favorite. A Deal with the Devil and Faustian Bargain are synonymous because of this tale of Faust, right? The outlines of the sort of original tale are that Faust is some guy wants to be the smartest kid in the class and know all the things, so he bargains his eternal soul with the devil in exchange for all of the knowledge in the world, and also magic. Also magic because knowledge and magic were like very much interchangeable as far as church leaders were concerned for a very long time. We're talking 15th, 16th century, right? So like Reformation era, the take on knowledge was generally bad. So bad that only the devil could give it to you. Magic and knowledge got kind of equated together because it was like, well, God knows everything. So like, why are you searching? You don't need to know shit, actually, Jenny. Like, God's got it. And it sort of fell in line with that same of like, we don't play with life and death because that's God's job kind of thing. The same reason that like the characters in God's Not Dead are not allowed to like perform miracles because only God can do that. So the stories are dumb. All of those things don't matter right now. I don't need to be going into it. Point is that this is a Faustian tale, and this is definitely the devil, okay? I'll put him on screen. He just kept making me think about Peter Pan, especially like the Tumblr obsession with the Disney Peter Pan that I watched a video essay on. And so I tried to find the most terrifying photo of a Disney World Peter Pan. This is the devil. Darkheart, this kid is the devil. And we know he's the devil because we first encounter him in a non-human shape-shifting form. And he shows up as like a bunch of different animals, right? First, the giant fucking water dragon, and then a toad, and then a fox, and then some smoke. Shape-shifting demons, very Christianity core. In classical mythology and Christian tradition in Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, T. McDillion writes, the gods and magicians, it was frequently remembered, were forever altering their own appearance or that of others, or simply creating phantoms for cruel and deceptive purposes. Bella, they can't see you. Now, the Care Bears movie doesn't really have a problem with magic on like a meta level, or even on a textual level, because clearly as an audience, we are meant to see magical floating cloud cars as good magic and angels creating miracles. And then the magic that is used by Darkheart to like change shape and to make this deal that he does is like bad magic, right? Which, where have we heard that before? Need I remind you of the snake? It's a trick question. I don't need to remind you of the snake because technically speaking, no one ever said that the snake in the Garden of Eden was the devil. It just kind of got translated that way. It sort of ended up getting translated that way, and then Christianity ran the Boston Marathon with it. And anyway, point is, this is the devil and he's trying to make a deal. Okay? But first he lurks. He lurks like Mephisto in Goethe's Faust. Goethe, who famously was cut from the Snape Wives video because I used to pronounce his name Goth. In Goethe's Faust, Mephisto, which is the name of the devil in that version, he's like lurking around as like a black dog. I say dog. It's a poodle. We don't have time for it. He's lurking around as a black poodle. And Darkheart here is lurking around as a toad. He's all like, I'm coming for you, bears. And then he's like a wolf and a creepy like snake and all manner of creepy, crawly, swiper, no swiping animals. Okay, that's what he turns into. And then he comes across Christy. She ended up alone, and if I haven't already told you this, Trueheart Bear finds the other two first and takes them on like a field trip to exploit their labor in heaven. We'll get there. But Christy is left alone in the woods, and up saunters the devil, and he's like, you want to be camp champ? And she's like, obviously. I would not have run away. He's like, I can do it. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, I'll make you camp champ and you just like owe me a favor, which is terrifying. That, gotta hand it to you, Care Bears Movie 2, A New Generation, pretty fucking hard, okay? The deal with the devil, where the return is just like a favor, horrifying, nightmare scenario. Like the kind where you don't even know where, when, or what this devil is going to cash in with. Absolutely the fuck not. Crazy deal to make. So she does it. She becomes camp champ and also like immediately becomes a little asshole, right? She starts cartwheeling circles around everyone and it is a total dick about it. She doesn't let anyone else win ever, and she is just as bad as every other camp champ that bullied her, and there are no adults around whatsoever. So the movie strongly implies that this is Darkheart's fault, and by strongly implies, I mean it tells you. Tells you that this is Darkheart's fault, because he's like lurking around and he's all like, I'm gonna suck all the caring out of the world because I want to. I'm gonna suck all the caring out of the world for fun, I guess. I don't know why he's doing it, but he's doing it. He makes her camp champ, she becomes shitty, and then suddenly so does everybody else. Oh my god. He didn't just make her camp champ, he made her camp. That's a little harsh. I might have to bleep that. You should probably bleep that. He's infected her with his darkness, with his dark heart, if you will. Because magic always comes with a price, dear. What are you doing? Why? You and rubber bands. Girly pop. Where do you keep finding these? And this is interesting. It's also a very like Christian twist on this whole Faustian tale. And I know what you're thinking. Aren't all deals with the devil Christian? Because, you know, the devil part. And no, not really. Because sometimes you get versions of this sort of deal with the devil tale that are told not just with like the Christian imagery and themes of devil and hell and the eternal soul or like allegories for those, but with like an explicitly Christian morality. And that typically involves a twofold price that gets paid. You don't just sell your soul and get the thing that you asked for. That's kind of how Marlowe's Faust does it, right? Instead, you offer something, you pay the price, you get the thing, and then the thing also kind of sucks. you have to not only pay the price, but live to regret it. You have to live long enough to hate yourself for doing it. You can't just make the deal and then pay the price at the end when you die. It kind of folds in that like genie in a bottle, like careful what you wish for, like into this story so that a lesson can be learned at the end. This way it can be a cautionary tale because they're trying to caution you, they're trying to scare you, they're trying to scare you not into temptation and deliver you from evil. Amen. Okay? So they can't portray your life as being super great after your deal and then you just go to hell, which is a bummer. Christian morality tales can't do that. Whereas like a lot of modern Faust tales do that. Particularly I'm thinking about Once Upon a Time, which if you've seen that, like Rumpelstiltskin, I cannot explain the plot of Once Upon a Time for you. Rumpelstiltskin basically becomes the devil, right? But he, you know, obviously sells like his soul and the ability to ever have healthy relationships and his son in exchange for all of this devil power. And he's not like stoked about the fact that he lost his son and any chance of a happy relationship, but he's kind of like fine with the deal that he made, right? Like he's not like happy. He's not like, I got the better end of the deal. He's just like, no, this is what I like, sucks, but also it sucked before, just sucks differently now. He just sort of pays up, and the show doesn't really paint it as it doesn't really moralize it. That's not to say that it doesn't like explore regrets and like the complexity of that kind of decision, at least in the first seasons. I stopped after 3, for the record. Anything beyond that, I'm innocent of. I don't know what happened, but it's more like an exploration. It's not like it's not like a he should have done this. Don't end up like him, right? And Emma, the main character, also makes a lot of deals with him. Deals are a big part of that show. She makes a lot of deals with him once he is in that position of the devil within the narrative, and she often has to pay up and just kind of does. Like, you know, it's like a lot of characters are making deals with the devil. They are making sacrifices, and, you know, it's just sort of like prices are paid. Sometimes they regret them and it's a morality tale, and then other times it's kind of like, you know, everything worked out in the end. Sort of Lucifer, the TV show, also has a lot of deals like this. Like, right, there are a lot of people in Lucifer's life who made a deal with the devil and are just like, oh, well, I owe you, I guess. Dorian Gray also, honestly, I think I made this point in that video, kind of is like that. Like, yeah, the picture's really gross, but like Dorian, like he lives for a really long time. Like he lives an entire lifetime, if not a little bit more, looking hot, which like is what he wanted. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't, like, super stoked about his life before, and he's not, like, super not stoked about it now. Like, if I remember correct, he only really gets, like, stressed at the end because he killed someone, and, like, that didn't really even have that much to do with the deal. Like, to be perfectly honest, that had to do with shit that happened before any of this. The point is that you can tell Faustian stories without moralizing or taking like a hard, clear ethical stance, right? But if you want to take a hard, clear ethical stance, you can. And the fastest, easiest, best way to do that is typically by adding that careful what you wish for manipulative twist and showing us the character actively regretting the choice that they made before they even have to pay the price. Then it's followed by some kind of redemption, lesson learned, recap where they do not in fact have to pay the price because they realize they should never have made the deal in the first place. So what is the moral stance of the Care Bears movie to a new generation? I will give you 3 guesses. What do you think the Care Bears want you to do, ethically speaking? Care a lot. We care a lot. That only makes sense if you've seen it. Which brings us back to that definition of care. Because I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get the rest of my drink. What in God's name do these bears mean? Because I'll tell you what, John and Dawn don't seem to give a shit about the fact that they lost Christy in the woods. They don't seem to care at all about that. And Trueheart, doesn't even remotely try to tell them that they should care about the fact that they lost Christy in the woods. Instead, Trueheart kidnaps them in a strange car and flies them overseas. It's child trafficking in many ways. Over state lines, Trueheart Bear? Oh, that's a spicy one. I forgot. I thought that was going to be the same as the other thing that I was drinking. And I had an espresso martini before I started filming because it's late. We're gonna find out how that works out. So like what do they mean by care? Because they're also measuring care. They're measuring the level of care. But the trouble is that they get sent down to earth for these kids who like ran away from camp, right? They're specifically sent to help these kids who ran away from camp because they were being treated like shit by the camp champ asshole. And they are not sent to help teach the camp champ asshole how to not be an asshole. They're not being sent to teach all the other kids how to care about the loser kids. If anything, she finds the kids who cared enough to go after their friends in the woods. And instead of helping them with their mission of caring enough to find their friend in the woods, she just takes them to her house so they can babysit her 750,000 babies from the Black Lagoon so her and her lesbian girlfriend can go off on a joyride? Excuse me? Clearly, they're not measuring emotional care, right? Like, clearly care, the care meter does not care about how much emotional care is being put into these relationships, okay? Because they're fucking that up. I argue that it must be measuring physical care, at least in this section. It has to be, because the caring lesson that John and Dawn are taught is that they don't need to be good at sports because they are good at babysitting. True Heart Bear and Noble Heart Horse dip out, leave these children, who are children, by the way. They are too young to be taking care of babies. They've got to be between 10 and 13 max. These are the kids that you leave in charge of, like, 6 to 10-year-olds, right? And you just kind of hope that the older ones will be bossy enough. They won't let the little ones jump off a bridge. That's kind of all that you're hoping for. You don't leave 10 to 13-year-olds in charge of anything that needs a diaper change. That's crazy. So kidnapping, child endangerment, it's not looking good for True Heart Bear. We don't even know what they're doing, by the way, like when they go off. We get a sequence of the twins take care of the babies, and then they just come back. No plot advancement on their end. They got nothing done, apparently, is what we're learning, that they didn't even get anything out of this. They just come back and they're like, wow, we left 2 kids who didn't think they could do anything and came back to 2 world-class babysitters. And are you gonna pay them? Pay them for their labor. Pay them for their labor. Anyway, the song that plays during their, like, babysitting montage is all about, like, I care for you, da 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 da, and it's something I hope that you might care for me too. I'm a professional singer, promise. The point, it's like, oh, like, I'm gonna, like, I care for you and I hope that one day you'll care for me too. Feels very in line with, like, one of the first things that came out of True Heart Bear's mouth when she met John and Dawn, who were like, oh no, we can't do anything right. She's like, well, you can share your feelings. Which leads me to believe that care, as defined by the Care Bears universe, is something that is shown or practiced through selflessness and acts of service. It's an ethic, a virtue ethic, I think. The type of care and relationship building and morality that the Care Bears are encouraging asks these children to give care and share and be of service without any guarantee that they will be cared for back, without any guarantee of what they will receive in return. And I guess, like, the idea is that if everyone is doing this, if everyone is caring first, then, like, you will inevitably be cared for. But, like, clearly not everyone is doing this. Clearly, they just had to flee Earth in a cloud car because Darkheart's very much not doing this. There's a camp full of kids who are not doing this. There's a camp full of kids who didn't give a shit about John and Dawn's well-being or care even before they got infected with Darkheart's evil magic. Like, So what's the real difference here between these two bargains, between this open-ended deal offered by the Care Bears and this open-ended deal offered by the devil, Darkheart? What's the difference? There is none. There is a difference, and the difference is that there is no difference, the difference is that they're mirrors, okay? I don't know. I sat for 5 minutes trying to figure out how to phrase this and how to write this section. I couldn't find a way to punctuate what's the difference with their opposites. So the difference is that they're opposites, right? The difference is that it's same but different. The difference is that they're the same. Christy knows what she's going to be receiving on her end, right? She just doesn't know the price that she's going to have to pay later. She knows she's going to be camp champ. She doesn't know what she's going to have to give Darkheart in exchange for that. Whereas John and Dawn know exactly what what they're giving, right? They're giving care and service and whatever without knowing if they are going to get that in return, right? So they're sort of, right, they should be of equal weight. And yet one is apparently right and the other is wrong. Part 4, the ethic does not exist. When Darkheart cashes his deal in with Christ, he has this whole ruse, right, where he goes to care a lot and he like pretends to be a handyman and he like wreaks havoc on a party or something. It's a whole thing. I don't really remember what was going on, but eventually God's little star angels stop him and he goes back to Earth and he finds Christy and he's like, we got to get to work. And he cashes in his favor. And the favor that he has her do is he wants her to sit on this boat because boats are where all the trouble starts in this universe. And you're going to call out for help. And all of the Care Bears and Care Bear cousins are going to come to your rescue. But instead of you letting them rescue you, I am going to... Ow! The funny thing is I was going to say drop a butterfly net on them. I'm gonna move before my concussion sets in. He says, instead of letting them rescue you, you're going to hang tight and I'm going to catch them. And they just do it over and over again. Now, an adult insight, hearing this girl scream for help in the middle of the woods over and over again all afternoon. But either way, that's neither here nor there because Peter Pan boy, during this excursion, a Peter Pan boy falls in the water. And I guess he can't swim. I don't know. Maybe he gets hit on the head with a basket. But he ends up in the water and Christy like dives in to save his life, right? She jumps in to save him and he's like, why? And she's like, because you're a person. And she is, according to the movie, in the right? She is morally doing the capital R, capital T, right thing. She is saving the devil. She is not killing baby Hitler, okay? Whether you want to call this virtue ethics, care ethics, or Christian ethics is up to you. Kind of all of the above as far as I'm concerned in this world where like bears talk. It's all of the above because the Care Bears ethical system is one of like virtues, right? And care. And it has all these Christian overtones and themes with the like between the deal with the devil and the magic sky god, like you can't pretend it's not got some Christianity sprinkled in there. So call it what you want. Point is, Christy is being selfless and sacrificial, and you will see in a second the number one thing that you can be in Christianity. It does not faze Darkheart whatsoever, right? When she saves his life, he's like, cool, I guess. Thank you. I don't know. He keeps capturing the bears. He turns them into like elaborate home decor. Specifically, he turns them into a chandelier of frozen feelings. Crazy line. Goes way harder than it needs to go. It's giving the sword with which deism was slain in Germany. A chandelier of frozen feelings? Chandelier of Frozen Feelings is made, and suddenly, somehow, Palpatine has returned, and he's got, like, the evil Midas touch. So he touches things and, like, sucks all the care and goodness out of the world. How that works? Don't know. What he means by that? Not sure. Not clear. That's what's happening. So all that work, all that work and caring that Christy did, right? Saving his life. Darkheart is still just taking advantage of her and her care and not giving a shit, and in fact hurting more people as a result of, being saved, which is like not ideal, but also like not wrong in this universe. It is definitely framed as she is in the right, very much in the right. And they end up in like a cave situation. Doesn't matter. There's like the chandelier. He's like, our deal's done. You should go. And she is like, no, I have learned my lesson. I came full circle. I care about the bears. I'm staying. And he's like, that's stupid. No, he tells her like, you held up your end of the bargain. We're done. We're done here. Like, you can go. I'm not keeping you here. And she's like, no, again, we just went through this. I'm going to stay. And then he says something else. He follows up, you held up your end of the deal. We're done, with, you saved my life. I am saving yours. Go. Like, I'm going to let you live. Get out. Which, like, she doesn't do. But what this does show us is that Darkheart is still in this like justice-based ethical mindset where it's like an eye for an eye, and he's like logically like I shouldn't like just kill her because our deal's done. So if she wants to leave, she can. And then when she refuses, his next thought process is, well, like, logically, I shouldn't kill her because she didn't kill me when she had the chance. So, like, if she saved my life, like, I guess I kind of, like, I should save hers. Like, that's only fair. What's interesting is that he didn't start that bargain, right? Like, when she first saved him, he didn't really acknowledge it. He was like, oh, cool, I guess. Good for me. Weird if true, but cool. But he's like, now he's forced to acknowledge that she did this thing. So her kind of saving him, her choosing to save him regardless of what she owed him, what he owed her, anything like that, her choosing to like risk herself and do the caring thing and save this person's life because they're a person comes like head to head with this justice based, you did this, so I do this. This is fair. This is logical. Ethical system. It's this clash of care ethics and justice ethics because that's what the whole thing is about. That's what this whole thing is that we're here in the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation, is this confrontation between care ethics and justice ethics, which is just a very sanitary way of saying that this is why Nietzsche killed God. Part 5. Why Nietzsche killed God. One of the criticisms that care ethics gets is that care ethics is a slave morality, and that's a Nietzsche thing. It's a Nietzsche thing because Nietzsche basically believed that like oppressed peoples tend to develop moral theories that reaffirm subservient traits as virtues, right? Nietzsche saw Christianity and religion as a whole as perpetuating this kind of morality specifically because it's a morality of suffering and of selflessness. And not everyone knows where to draw the line, okay? Right? And care ethics also gets accused of being a slave morality quite often. That's like a big criticism of it. According to the Encyclopedia of Philosophy, following this tradition, the charge that care ethics as a slave morality interprets the different voice of care as emerging from patriarchal traditions characterized by rigidly enforcing sexual divisions of labor. This critique issues caution against uncritically valorizing caring practices and inclinations because women who predominantly perform the work of care often do so to their own economic and political disadvantage. It's all well and good to say that women typically approach things with this different outlook that's based on care and interpersonal relationships, but you're not necessarily assessing why, which is often that is the safer option and that is the only option, or it is the way to survive, right? And it kind of questions, like, is this like different voice of care? Is this voice of like, oh, we're thinking about the complex interpersonal relationships? Is it really like a different valid type of ethical approach, or is it just a product of the way that people who are raised and socialized as women and girls have to learn to survive, kind of thing? And this prompted a lot of people, obviously, like to draw the line. This kind of criticism gets sort of handled by a lot of academics and philosophers and writers in a lot of different ways, one of them being like strictly defining care, right? So that you're not including things like, you know, giving up all of your hopes and dreams because you can't economically support yourself and you need to have the support of a man as care, right? Like, so that you're not defining things like that are hurtful to you as care. And one of the popular definitions from Joan Tronto, writing with Bernice Fisher, is that care is a species of activity that includes everything we do to maintain, contain, and repair our world so that we can live in it as well as possible. That world includes our bodies, ourselves, and our environment. Tronto identifies like care specifically as a practice, so not necessarily a virtue, but something that is done with the sort of sub-elements and checklist of attentiveness, so a proclivity to become aware of a need, so you can see when someone needs something, responsibility, a willingness to respond to that need, a competence, being able to actually respond to that need, and responsiveness, consideration of the position of others, and to see and recognize the potential for abuse in care. And that one I think is important if you are trying to defend care ethics against this slave morality. sort of argument. It's also important if you're analyzing the Care Bears movie to A New Generation, because Darkheart fully abuses the care that Christy gives him in saving his life, because he immediately continues his dastardly deeds. She is determined to stay and try and save the bears. He like hits her with like a magic ray of some kind. She's like dying on the floor, and she pulls out like a marble shooter thing, shoots the chandelier down from the ceiling so it cracks. All the bears are free. They all like defeat Darkheart with their Care Bear stare, and when all is said and done, she's dead. Which is not a problem. Remember, this is a Christian morality tale, right? That is the best possible thing that could have happened. Oh my God. This is martyrdom. I told you earlier, she is about to be the best possible thing that you can be in Christian tales, and that is a martyr. That is a martyr. Dying is the best thing that could have happened to Christy right now, because Christy has died in the selfless act of saving the gods' little like angel bear things from the devil himself. So we all know what happens next. We know what's coming. We're all ready for it. We've been primed. We've been prepped. It's the Christian redemption cycle. Darkheart is like, oh my God, no, not the pretty one. And girly pop rises. Girl boss rising, okay? Darkheart is like, what good is all of your love if it cannot save this one human child? Blah, 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 blah. He's like sort of coming around, ethically speaking. He's like, damn, like I killed the hot girl, what a bummer. And it's only fucking with him though, not because he just like is having a magical epiphany, but because he said, you saved my life, I'm saving yours. And then she died. So like she paid him, and he can't repay the debt, and his like justice-based like fairness ethic like can't compute this. And he's like, oh my God, maybe I've been doing things wrong my entire life. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? And all the bears are like, we've got you. And they do like Care Bear stare, we can save everyone, clap if you believe in fairies. That's not a joke. They really do like fourth wall break, and they're like, say you care, we care. It's very creepy. And then Jesus Christ rises herself from the tomb like a phoenix from the ashes of moral depravity, and Darkheart's eyes turn blue. He becomes a capital R, capital B real boy, learns that it doesn't matter who is camp champ, because they're all camp champ when they care, and he gets the girl. They're holding hands. They're holding hands at the end, which good for him. You know, we love a Byronic hero. What, did you think I wasn't going to mention him? You thought I wasn't going to mention him, huh? I mean, come on. Sad boy who cries. I'm joking, but also that is absolutely some shit that he would do. Like, he would terrorize everyone's lives, belittle their moral values, get a girl killed, and then still be like, don't you want to date me? And you know what? She would. This would absolutely happen to him, 150%. Maybe not the bears, but like, that's just because I don't know how many bears there are in England. Does England have bears? I lived there. I feel like I should have known if there were. I feel like I would know. I feel like I would have known if there. Anyway, point is, at the end of the day, the Care Bears movie 2, A New Generation, has proven that God can be found in all things. Just lying in wait like a demon toad in the forest of an apparently adultless summer camp in the 1980s. I don't know. I don't know anything. Anyway, I hope you liked this. I hope you had a good time. I had a great time. I want to let you know that I have merch, which is fun and new. If you'd like to get a t-shirt or a tote bag, they are on my website. There's just one design now, and it's music related. I know. I should stop shoving my music down your throats. Get over it. It's going to keep happening. Learn to love the joke. If you have ideas for more like video related things, please let me know. I felt like I shouldn't be the one to decide what the funniest quotes from my videos to like put on t-shirts are. Like that, it doesn't feel weird to put a lyric that I wrote on a shirt, but it does feel weird to put just like some shit that I said on a shirt. So you guys will have to vote and like let me know in the comments what you want on a shirt. Somebody suggested an Everything is Lord Byron shirt, which would be funny because it is. But I don't know. Is that infringing on John Green's trademark? Anyway, point is, you can get t-shirts on my website. You can also follow me on other platforms. You can learn about other things that I'm doing. I'm so annoying on there. I post all the time. I'm very chronically online. You can listen to my song Paper Dolls that came out a little while ago. That's really fun. I would love it if you heard that. I'm very proud of that song. I have a Patreon as well, and all of the sources from this video will be available there for free. You can pay if you want, but the sources are always free. And the comment shout out from the last video goes to Dream Engine 707. My first thought was, I like this. My second thought was, Biz is never going to live down flowers in the attic, is she? No, I'm not. And I don't want to. I talked about flowers in the attic on stage the other week, and one singular person laughed, and I know it was one of you guys. Most of the people who come to my shows are not also people who watch my videos. We should change that, but I'm not going to pressure you. But one singular person laughed, and it was worth it. Also, just you wait. Just you wait. I have a song coming out that I just know people whose favorite videos of flowers in the attic video are about to lose it. I'm so excited. Anyway, this has been great. I love you the way that Nietzsche loves the sound of his own voice, and I will see you when I see you.
You know, they used to say